What would you think if someone died in such an impossible way that even the world's best scientists couldn't explain it? Cases where bodies were found completely intact, yet somehow burned to ashes. People who literally laughed themselves to death, or simply vanished in front of witnesses before later being found dead under bizarre circumstances. Today, we're going to look at 7 of the strangest deaths science has never been able to explain, documented in real case files, police investigations, and historical accounts. And trust me, some of these stories sound like something straight out of a horror movie, but they actually happened. On February 19, 1994, in Riverside, California, a woman named Gloria Ramirez arrived at the hospital suffering from severe pain and breathing problems. According to medical records from Riverside General Hospital, doctors immediately began treating her, but then something terrifying happened. Several nurses suddenly started fainting. Others experienced nausea, dizziness, and trouble breathing. One of them even ended up in intensive care. Doctors claimed a strange odor was coming from Gloria's body, similar to ammonia mixed with rotten fruit. The most disturbing part was that more than 20 hospital workers experienced symptoms almost at the exact same time. Authorities investigated the incident for months. Some scientists suggested Gloria had been using dimethyl sulfoxide as a home remedy, and that a chemical reaction in her bloodstream created toxic gases. But it was never fully proven. To this day, many people believe the hospital covered up the truth, because one question still remains unanswered. How could a single body make an entire medical team sick? And this is only the beginning. According to historical records preserved by Greek writers and later mentioned by historian Diogenes Laertius, the philosopher Chrysippus died after laughing too hard. The story says he saw a donkey trying to eat figs. So he ordered wine to be given to the animal and began laughing uncontrollably. But the laughter never stopped. Minutes later, he collapsed and died. Now, many people might think this is just an exaggerated ancient story, but there are modern cases that are surprisingly similar. According to the British Medical Journal, some people have suffered fatal heart attacks triggered by extreme episodes of laughter. What makes it unsettling is imagining Chrysippus' final moments. A man unable to stop laughing while his own body slowly shut down. Can you imagine dying like that? Because compared to the next case, this one almost seems normal. Does all of this sound impossible? Then wait, because the next case was so strange, even the FBI ended up getting involved. And if these stories are already giving you chills, leave a like and subscribe, because every minute of this video becomes even more disturbing. In February 1959, 9 Soviet hikers disappeared in the Ural Mountains of Russia. The case was officially recorded in Soviet archives as the Dyatlov Pass incident. Days later, search teams found their tent sliced open from the inside. That means they escaped in complete panic during a snowstorm without proper clothing. But the worst part came afterward. Some bodies were found frozen. Others had brutal internal fractures similar to injuries from high-speed car crashes. And 2 victims were missing their eyes. Another was missing her tongue. According to documents declassified decades later, there were no clear signs of a human attack. No animal tracks. No definitive evidence of an avalanche. Over the years, theories emerged involving military experiments, radiation, infrasonic sounds, and even unknown entities. But no explanation was ever able to solve every anomaly. And that's what makes it terrifying. More than 60 years have passed, and nobody truly knows what forced those people to run towards certain death. Spontaneous human combustion is one of the most disturbing phenomena ever recorded in modern history. According to files collected by researcher Larry Arnold and articles published in forensic journals, there have been cases where people were found almost completely burned to ashes, while the objects around them remained untouched. In 1951, in Florida, the body of Mary Reeser was found reduced almost entirely to ashes. But her apartment had barely suffered any damage. A partially burned chair, a darkened wall, and one intact foot still inside a slipper. That was all. Investigators calculated that destroying a body in that way would require extremely high temperatures. Temperatures that normally would have set the entire room on fire. But that never happened. Science proposed theories involving body fat and the wick effect. However, many specialists admitted that some details remain difficult to explain. Because one question continues to haunt these cases. How can a human body burn almost completely without destroying the surroundings? In 1985, a man named Larry Walters decided to tie 45 weather balloons to a lawn chair. Yes, a regular lawn chair. According to reports published by the Los Angeles Times and testimonies gathered by the FAA, Larry only wanted to float a few feet above his neighborhood. But something went horribly wrong. The chair started rising, higher and higher, until it reached approximately 16,000 feet in the air. Larry became trapped in the sky for hours. Commercial pilots reported seeing a man floating through the air, armed with nothing but a BB gun. Eventually, he managed to descend. He survived the flight. But years later, psychological pressure and depression destroyed his life. He ended up taking his own life in 1993. What makes this disturbing isn't just the death. It's how an absurd idea turned into a real tragedy witnessed by thousands of people. Sometimes, danger doesn't look dangerous until it's already too late. And now comes the case that many paranormal investigators consider the most terrifying of all. So if you've made it this far, comment which story shocked you the most. Because what comes next seems to completely defy human logic. On December 1st, 1948, the body of a well-dressed man was discovered on Somerton Beach in Australia. According to Australian police archives and historical reports from the Adelaide Advertiser, he carried no identification. There were no obvious signs of violence. And the strangest part, every label had been removed from his clothing. During the autopsy, doctors suspected poisoning, but they never found a definitive substance. Then investigators discovered a tiny piece of paper hidden inside a secret pocket in his pants. It contained only 2 words, Tamam shud, a Persian phrase meaning finished or ended. Police later discovered it came from a rare book called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Inside the book, they found a mysterious code no one could decipher, and a phone number connected to a woman who denied ever knowing the man. Espionage, murder, suicide, secret experiments. Decades later, the case officially remains unsolved. A man without a name, without a past, and with a final message nobody could understand. In 1986, near Lake Nyos in Cameroon, a tragedy so strange occurred that survivors believed it was some kind of curse. According to scientific reports published by the journal Nature and official records from the Cameroonian government, more than 1,700 people died in a single night. No injuries, no fires, no signs of an attack. They simply died. When investigators arrived, they found entire villages completely silent. Dead animals. People collapsed exactly where they had been standing, as if life itself had suddenly stopped. The scientific explanation was terrifying. The lake released a massive cloud of carbon dioxide that had been trapped beneath the water. The gas slowly descended, pushing away the oxygen, and people suffocated in their sleep. The most disturbing part was that nobody saw death coming. There were no screams, no explosions, only silence, absolute silence. And that proves something truly horrifying. Sometimes nature can kill in ways that seem supernatural. All of these stories have one thing in common. They remind us that even with all our technology, there are still deaths that challenge logic, medicine, and modern science. Cases where the answers never came. And maybe that's what's truly terrifying. Not monsters, not ghosts, but accepting that we still live in a world full of things we simply don't understand. Now I want to hear your opinion. Which of these cases disturbed you the most? Leave it in the comments.